The situation in the east of Ukraine, in the ATA zone, will be presented by Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We'll start with the sectors. Lugansk sector. Yesterday, active military actions continued on the Bakhmutsk road. Immediately after the midnight, in the morning and the evening, the occupants used mine launchers and tube artillery. Generally, on our positions on the front line, Krymsk and Tashkivsky, about 90 mines and shells were launched. These shellings were delivered from the short distance, which confirms information about the availability of a considerable number of heavy weaponry of the adversary on the front line. Also, in the second half of the day, apart from the heavy weaponry, the adversary started to actively use the rifle weapons and armored equipment. After the 19 hours, the occupants activated in the Popasnyansky district. In Katerynivka, Popasna and Troitska, the enemy used mine launchers. In the front section from the Russian border to Trokhizbenka, there were no hostilities. Totally, over the last 24 hours, Lugansk sector saw 23 adversary shellings, including 9 from heavy weaponry. Donetsk sector, as before, it wasn't calm on the section of the front Kamenka-Avdiivka position mine Butovka. The adversary activated after 17 o'clock, and enemy shellings didn't stop till the light night. The occupants actively used mine launchers and tanks and launched 100 mines and shells. In Avdiivka, an enemy shell damaged a house and a car. The hosts were located inside the house, that's why they weren't wounded. Also, a burst of fire on behalf of the adversary occurred near Gorlivka and Pisky. The enemy also repeatedly used mine launches. Totally, over the 24 hours in Donetsk sector, 22 adversary shellings occurred, including 11 from heavy weaponry. Mariupol sector, in the morning, dawn, and in the evening, the occupants actively used mine launchers and barrel artillery at 6 positions of the armed forces of Ukraine along the front line. But the intensity of the fire was much smaller than in Lugansk and Donetsk sector. Totally, the main hostilities are being carried out on the front line, Chermalek, Shirokine. In Marinka and the north part of the Volnovakha district, the occupants restricted themselves by sport shellings from heavy weaponry. Over the 24 hours in Mariupol sector, the enemy violated the ceasefire 22 times. Today, after midnight, from the Kuchaevka side, the enemy opened fire on villages Olhinka and Hravska of Volnovakha district. In Olhinka, a whole street was damaged. 12 private houses. People spent the night in cellars. In Gravske, a hostel was damaged where students from the forestry college lived. Luckily, the people weren't wounded. Over the last 24 hours, the military actions resulted in the death of the 2 Ukrainian servicemen and 4 were wounded and damaged. We express our sympathy to the family of the killed military. They confirmed the losses of the enemy over the last week. There were 22 killed, 60 wounded occupants. Over half of the losses falls with the Bakhmutska road and Avdiivka. According to main intelligence board of the Defense Ministry of Ukraine, in Russian military units that are generated along the Russian-Ukrainian border, there are cases of interethnical fights. Specifically, 2 days ago, in the 150th Motor and Rifle Division, A Russian serviceman was wounded with a knife. The military man was from Dagestan. In Lviv, there were a training of battalion commanders and of separate companies of the National Guard. The training purpose was to increase the level of professional training skills of officer. Over the last 24 hours, 2 killed servicemen were killed. Over the day before yesterday, 4 servicemen were killed. Can we talk about the sharpening of the situation? If we based on the number of killed and wounded, yes, we can confirm this, but we state the deterioration of the situation that started 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it doesn't stop. And I can say that today we also have losses. This day, 1 guy was killed and 4 servicemen were wounded. Also, there are losses in the military equipment. So we see it's not only a deterioration, but it's the blunt violation of the Minsk agreement, and also spillover of heavy weaponry by the opponent. I hope that the media staff will report about that in their papers, and to avoid more losses and cases of injuries. The Ukrainian servicemen are not forbidden from opening fire in response if our people if they appear under threat of fire, and also the transition of the shifting of our positions along the front line to avoid the sport fire is now underway. We don't see specific reasons so far, but the deterioration evokes anxiety, especially among the military commandment that is responsible for preserving lives of our servicemen. Also, responsibility with the civil administrations who are together with the state emergency service, trying to provide to support lives in the substances in the settlements close to the front line. Thank you very much, Mr. Colonel, for this information. Tomorrow at 12:30, we'll hear the next report on the ATO zone.